It is Fabian Williams with lifeanew.com. Apologize for the sunshine, but I can't apologize for the sunshine because it's been chilly. It hasn't been horribly cold this winter. Very strange, right? Very strange. Anyway, I am a marriage and family therapist, so I am sitting under the umbrella of Christian Marriage Matters right now because I want to talk to couples about some stuff. I want to talk about the four horsemen. John Gottman is the expert who talks about the four horsemen, and I use it at an annoying rate. I use it with almost every couple that comes my way because what he's talking about is the apocalypse. So if you remember the apocalypse from the Bible, and the four horsemen was the white one, the red one, the black one, and the pale one, right? The white one was like he had a bow and he was supposed to signify, some people say Jesus and some people say conquest, like overtaking. The red one had a sword and he signified war and strife and all of that negativity. The black one had scales and he signified the famine, and that's how they used to measure out the food before they would give it to people during a famine. And the pale one was the horseman of death. Enough said. John Gottman has a theory where he uses those concepts to talk about marriage. And he is this wonderful expert who, his book is The 7 Principles of Marriage. I don't know, 7 Principles of something. So please look it up because he is a great expert to have in your repertoire of individuals to go to. If 1, you work with couples, if 2, you are a couple, or 3, you want to work with couples. It is he just has a plethora of information. So his 4 horsemen are criticism, defensiveness, stonewalling, and contempt. Criticism is that whole idea of you always, you never, criticizing the person, not the problem, right? Defensiveness is always being on guard, always ready to defend, always ready to come back with a tit for tat, or I may have, but you. Anyway, that thing that never allows you to take that responsibility for what you've done. Yeah, I didn't call the doctor, but you didn't leave the number. You didn't, whatever. You didn't take out the garbage. I didn't clean the dishes, but you didn't take out the garbage. Anyway, so defensiveness. I am defensive immediately. I call it the 5, coming in at the 5. So if you have a scale of 0 to 10, those people who are defensive often come in at a 5, and they're expecting their spouse to come at them, so they got a response immediately. Stonewalling is just the shutdown, the complete shutdown. I'm not saying nothing. You don't even exist. I ain't even letting you into my space, my head space, my no space, because I'm not going there. So stonewalling is dangerous because it in essence is saying, I no longer feel safe to participate in a conversation with you. Nobody wants their spouse to not feel safe with them. The last one is that contempt. And when you talk about contempt, John Gottman calls that the one that points to divorce immediately. Contempt is when all of that other stuff, all of those defensive measures, all of those protective measures turn into hostility. They turn mean, they turn vicious. They are, instead of the conversation or the stonewall, you just do the eye roll. Not only is it just I ain't saying nothing, but I can't even stand your presence. And they're not saying that. You are just, that is the level of contempt. It almost points to I am better than you. I am too good to even enter into this level of conversation, or you no longer like the person. So contempt, he says, is the number 1 indicator of divorce. He is also an expert who used to take this. He had this marriage house, and he would take couples into this marriage house, and he would put like probes on them, and he would take their blood and measure their sweat glands and how they produce sweat in a conversation with their spouse, in order to study everything about relationships. And in those studies, he found out that he could predict a divorce within 6 minutes of being in front of a couple. So he has some pretty good research behind everything he does is research based. He and his wife work together, but they're one of my couple heroes because they have done the work. Now, I wouldn't give you this information, arm you with this information just to throw it at you. I want to now give you the antidotes because he also has antidotes for each of these. So let's talk about criticism. The antidote for criticism is gentleness, is being gentle and holding your spouse's heart like an egg. I think we talked about that in the last video. Being able to hold that precious heart like that egg Mr. Preston made us carry around for a week when we were in middle school, a little nasty stinking egg, but we had to carry it around, and if you broke it, you failed. So you carry that egg. Gentleness, so being gentle with your spouse, loving your spouse, having loving responses and all of that, not criticizing, but rather having making the problem, not your spouse the problem. Defensiveness, the key to that is, or the antidote for that is taking responsibility. Oh, you know what? I didn't call the doctor. I should have did that. That's my bad. I'm so sorry. Or whatever that looks like in your relationship, whatever those healing words are in your relationship, take responsibility for the things you do. Take a step back and don't go into defensive mode immediately. If you know you come in to every conversation out of 5, step back and say, okay, why is this making me, this is the love of my life. This is the person that I want to be with for the rest of I don't want to break. I don't want to hurt this person. This person doesn't want to hurt me. This is major conversations that have to go on in your head on a regular basis to get accustomed to not coming in defensive. But the practice is also a loving practice. So your spouse will be honored by the fact that you're willing to even try it. Stonewalling. There is a selfish? I guess no, it's not selfish. Self-soothing is the antidote for stonewalling. So it sounds kind of like it's self-centered, a self-centered response, but really it is saying, I don't feel safe here. I am in panic mode and I need to get out of here. I can't defend myself. You go into freeze. So fight, flight, freeze. That individual goes into freeze mode. You are really having a trauma response. And we know we had the video, is it really trauma? Everything is not really trauma. I'm not trying to say that. But if you were to compare it to that, to give you a comparative measure, it is going into freeze. So you need to do some hey, honey, I need a timeout. I need 15 minutes. Put parameters around that timeout. I need an hour. I'm going to go take a walk. I'm going to go for a run. I'm going to go for a drive. I'm going to sit down on the couch and watch some ratchet TV. I'm going to, whatever you need to do to get out of that moment for a minute so that you can restore yourself to the place of safety and you can enter that conversation again in a loving manner. And last but not least, contempt. Remember, contempt is that pale horse, is that death. That is the death of the marriage. When you get to the place where everything your spouse says gets on your last nerve, that's a dangerous position to be in. The antidote for contempt is appreciation. So a gratitude journal, some way of documenting, this is the person that I love and what makes them special, even if it comes down to he puts the garbage out. I know that's not a touchy-feely sentiment, but at the same time, you could be living with a guy who doesn't put the garbage out, or she always cleans the dishes. Yeah, that doesn't really get to the heart of the matter, but you got to get to the place where you can appreciate some of the small things, and then you'll begin to see the big things. I heard a video where the guy was saying, after breaking up with his wife, he realized how dirty he keeps his pillows and his bedding and all of that. This is appreciation. Like, wow, my wife takes care of the bedding. My wife takes care of the shower. My wife takes care of whatever, the kids, the house, the family, whatever. And then you can get to the bigger things. I love her because, I love him because. So you want to begin to appreciate your spouse. Think about these 4 horsemen, share them at length, talk about them with your spouse, but also deal with you and which one of these 4 horsemen show up for you. And if they do, let's practice the antidotes. Again, this is Fabian Williams, marriage and family therapist with lifeanew.com, with a little installment for Christian Marriage Matters, because we also have that umbrella. I just pray that this is helpful because your Christian marriage really does matter.